So we were at the grist mill and we just watched them grind some corn, and we got ourselves a bag of cornmeal. We're gonna make some cornbread for Thanksgiving.
Welcome to Love and Life Hitched Up. Today we're making cornbread for Thanksgiving. First step that you got to do is getting your oven set to 400. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees. And then the second thing is you have to grease your pan. If I had a cast iron frying pan, I would use that, but this is an oven safe frying pan. You'd want at least a 9-inch fry pan to be able to do this. Want to get this nicely greased all the way around. And once this is greased, it's going to go in the oven and get hot. We're going to go over the list of ingredients that you're going to need and the specific measurements. First, you need to do a half cup of butter melted, so 1 stick of butter melted, and let it cool back down. So melt that first so it has a chance to cool off a bit. You will need 1 cup of flour, equal 1 cup of cornmeal, and this is the Plymouth grist mill cornmeal that we bought up in Massachusetts. In this recipe, 1 tablespoon of sugar, optional. Not everyone likes it, it's quite as sweet. 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and a half teaspoon of salt, also optional. You will need 2 large eggs, and 1.5 cups of buttermilk. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, you can substitute yogurt, or you can make your own buttermilk utilizing regular milk and white vinegar. Process adding the white vinegar in and allowing that to sour up a bit, or you can just use regular milk, but it does taste a little better with the soured or buttered milk. Begin by combining your dry ingredients. Your cornmeal, 1 cup. Your flour, 1 cup. Your half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of baking soda. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And your sugar. Into a large bowl. Whisk them, get a good mix. You will see that it starts to change light yellow. Some folks prefer a lighter cornbread, so you would change the ratios between the cornmeal and the flour. If you wanted more cake-like, you would add more flour. If you wanted denser, you would add more cornmeal. But you're not adding it. What you're doing is you have those 2 parts, the 2 cups. So if you're going to want it lighter, you're going to want to reduce some of the cornmeal and make that equal part up. So 3/4 to 1/4, along those lines. Denser, you would just reduce the flour and increase the cornmeal. So after getting a good mix, making sure everything is mixed in well, you want to make what they call a well in the middle of the bowl. So what you do is you move out to the sides, so you have a little well in the center, and in there you're going to be adding your eggs. and your buttermilk. First thing I always do is I make sure I break my yolks first. And then it's just a process of mixing in. Now, some people will use a blender or a mixer. I hand mix it. And the idea is just to get it mixed together well. Not necessarily over mixed, but just nicely mixed together. Blending that in. And a nice even mix. Be sure to scrape down to the bottom so you don't end up with any dry spots in your mix. And you can smell the buttermilk. And you're just looking to get it nicely folded in. That's why I use a spatula, so not smashing it all up, just kind of folds it in. It lets me scrape the bowl as I'm going along. Last step after beginning mixing that in is then adding the melted butter that has started to cool again. So as it starts to cool, you'll see it'll get cloudy, which is okay. You're gonna mix that in. Again, mixed in, you don't want to over blend. All right, now looks good, nicely mixed in. Got a pretty thick consistency to it. Got a great smell. And now we're going to get it in the pan. So our oven was preheated to 400. And while that was heating and while we were making this, we kept our pan in the oven. The reason behind that, you'll see. So our pan is nice and hot. Make sure you're using mitt. I'm using that. Be greased. We are going to add, and if you come close and listen, you'll hear a sizzle. And we want that sizzle because that gives the cornbread that little fried kind of edge to it as it goes into that pan. It's starting to create a little bit of a crust on that edge, so we get that nice crunchy crispy crust. Now, I don't own a cast iron pan. If you had cast iron skillet, that would be amazing. But you can use pretty much any oven safe dish, pie pan, square, cooking pan, anything like that. You don't necessarily need to smooth it out, but I'm a believer on nuts. I need balance on everything, so it has to be smooth. And this is going to go back in the oven for 18 to 20 minutes. Middle rack uncovered, and we're going to keep checking on it. What we're looking for is a nice golden brown. It's still a little bit pale. Let's check. So you want to insert a toothpick, and that is done. I am going to give it another coat, just get a little bit more brown on the top. Not much more than that. I want to over bake it. So yeah, you want your toothpick to come out completely clean in the middle. And then you'll know that it's done on the inside. If it gets clumpy, stuck to, then it's not quite cooked all the way. Then the rest is just aesthetics. So I set the initial timer for 18, 20 to 24, give or take, depending on your oven. Every oven cooks a little bit different. Your pan's going to change the way that it cooks and all that. So that's why I was set a little bit short, and it's better to add more time as needed than to overcook it. But our toothpick, center, perfectly clean, and we are good. At this point now, we're going to let it cool, so we can take it out of the pan and then eat it. So remember, when handling this pan has been in the oven, so safety. I like to run a little knife around the edge, make sure we're not stuck. This is pretty good. And we are hoping to transfer this to a plate, make for a prettier presentation. So the plan here is to transfer this to the plate without breaking it, the plate or the cornbread. Follows right in there. And we'll pop out just like that. That, my friends, utilizing that hot pan is what gives you that little sizzle at the bottom, and there you go, is your smells amazing. Cornbread, in my opinion, is best eaten hot or warm, right out of the cooking. Here we go. You can see it's light, but not super light like a cake, kind of medium density. Smells amazing. All I need now is a little butter. And that's some good cornbread. Moist, not sweet, even though we did add that little bit of sugar. Well, it's just a smidge of sugar. Not salty, but definitely good. So if you like this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you get notifications when the next video comes out. And remember, when you're out there living life, do it hitched up.